He stared at me like I'd just pulled the pin on a grenade. The dining room had gone dead quiet. No forks scraping plates, no forced small talk, just the faint buzz of the overhead light and my brother-in-law-to-be turning the color of old ash. Ethan, a decorated Marine Raider fresh from another tour, had been all easy charm an hour earlier. Now his eyes were locked on the dull titanium challenge coin clipped to my blazer pocket, and the confident smirk he'd worn for my sister Vanessa had vanished. Vanessa sat beside him, still glowing from her latest victory lap, her engagement announcement delivered like a quarterly earnings report. She had no clue she'd just paraded her real hero fiancé in front of the one person in the room he was trained to fear. To get why the night detonated so completely, you need the context of how it began, and how every family dinner in the last 15 years had really gone. 3 hours earlier, the house was alive with the kind of praise I hadn't heard aimed at me since elementary school. Mom was refilling Ethan's glass before he could ask, gushing about his service. Dad, who judges manhood by grip strength and war stories, nodded along like Ethan was reciting scripture. I was scenery, an extra plate at the table. Vanessa, the VP of sales who treats life like a branded keynote, kept shooting me glances, waiting for her moment. She found it over the salad course. Ethan's team ships out again in 6 weeks, she said, voice syrupy with concern. Then she turned to me. Must be peaceful, Jenna, never having to worry about that. I mean, your biggest crisis is probably a jammed copier or a late expense report, right? I let it slide, same as always. She had no idea the birthday I skipped last year was spent in a SCIF watching a raid in real time that ended with 2 friendly casualties. She couldn't know the reports I file decide whether a drone strike goes forward or gets scrubbed. The coin on my lapel wasn't decoration. It was a quiet tribute to a source I ran years ago, a man who died feeding me intel that saved an entire convoy. I rarely wore it. Tonight, exhaustion made me forget. Vanessa saw weakness. Ethan saw something else entirely. The conversation drifted to safer topics, wedding venues, Dad's golf league, until Ethan abruptly interrupted. Great chili, Mrs. Harlow, he said, voice oddly strained. Takes me back to a cold night outside Marja. Dust storms always came in fast that season. It sounded like casual reminiscence to everyone else. To me, it was a credential check, referencing a classified Marine Special Ops window no civilian would know. I met his eyes. Storms are easier to predict from altitude, I replied evenly. Especially when you've got the upgraded IR package on the Reaper feed. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. That detail wasn't public. Ever. Vanessa sensed the shift in attention and hated it. She reached across, flicking the coin with a manicured nail. Cute accessory. Yen. Civil service employee of the quarter? Or did you pick it up at a military surplus store to feel edgy? Ethan's hand moved faster than thought, closing gently but unmistakably around her wrist. Don't. The word cracked like a starter pistol. Mom's wine glass paused mid-sip. Dad froze. Vanessa tried to laugh it off. Ethan, it's just. That coin, he said quietly, is the Watcher's mark. Fewer than 15 people in the intelligence community are issued one. Those 15 decide which doors my teams kick, and which ones we walk away from. He released her, stood, and faced me with the posture he'd use addressing a general. Ma'am. I owe you and your section a debt. Your call on the alternate exfil during night harvest brought 12 of us home. I didn't know the voice on the other end belonged to my fiancé's sister. Vanessa's face crumpled. The woman who'd spent years framing me as the timid, underachieving sibling now looked small, confused, furious. Mom and Dad stared like they'd never seen me before. I folded my napkin, set it beside my plate. I can't talk about work, I said, not apologetically this time, but finally. The rest of the meal passed in near silence. Vanessa left early, claiming a headache. Ethan lingered on the porch with me afterward, offering a cigarette I refused. I'm sorry, he said into the dark. She didn't know. None of us did. I nodded. For the first time in decades, someone in my family had looked at me and seen the truth. And it turned out the truth was enough.